Hi, my name is Shue, and today I'm going to teach you how to set up a 3-point dramatic light setup for video. With strobes, there's on and off. With video, you're going to be using constant lights, but some of the same principles that you work with your strobes work with the video lights. So one of the first lights you want to consider is a separation light. Some people call it a kicker, some people call it a hair light, but basically it's behind your subject and it's illuminating or skimming across the subject's face. Now, depending on the angle of the light will determine how much it skims, and you can get some really dramatic effects with this. Matter of fact, you can even just add a fill card and basically create all kinds of different looks with a contrast control, okay? So our 3 light setup are going to consist of a kicker light, a main light, and a fill light. So once we have our kicker light set up, we'll turn on our main light, and I'll explain to you some of the tips you might want to use to get that set up. Okay, so here we have our main light set up. Now our main light, notice that it's coming from camera left and it's up high, okay? Now, how you judge the correct position of the light, especially if you're trying to do something dramatic, is you want to make sure that the tip of the nose, the shadow, is not on the side of the face. You want it to go down to the side of the mouth. Now, it's going to create more of a Rembrandt style of lighting. Now, if you smile, it kind of doesn't look right. With dramatic lighting, you're going to have more serious expressions on your face. So depending on the type of interview you may be doing or the type of video content you're creating will determine the lighting patterns that you'd use to create that video. Now, notice if I turn my face, I lose that shadow and it becomes more of a paramount or butterfly. But if I turn it more to the side of the face, this drops down into the side shadow on the opposite side of the face and it falls down to the side of the lip. Again, creating that Rembrandt pattern of light. Now, there's a couple tips. You want to get catch lights in both eyes. Now, I'll open my eyes a little bit so you can see because I've got some pretty deep brows. But the trick is this. Close your eye, especially if you're doing it by yourself. You want to make sure you get it right. So close your eye on the side where the main light is. And if you can actually see the light source in the eye on the far side of the face, you're going to have a catch light in it. That's just a quick tip that will help you set up your main light. Now, the next light really isn't a light, it's more like a fill, but it will be a light source. It's real simple. To control the amount of contrast on the side of this face, how dark these shadows are, you use a fill card. And basically we'll bring a fill card in and we'll control those shadows. Now, I'm working by myself and trying to keep it out of the camera, it just takes a little bit of effort. So there we go. You can see that I've controlled the contrast. So the further I pull it away, the darker it gets. And the closer I bring it in, the lighter those shadows get. And this becomes that third light source. That's it. Now, another thing you might have a challenge with if you're working by yourself is getting the subject in focus, being yourself. Well, that's pretty simple too. On most lenses, there's a meters and feet scale for focal length. It's a real simple matter of using a tape measure, setting up your focal length, and just pulling it out and measuring it. Basically just lay it up on the camera and pull it back to your eye, and look over and measure and say, oh, it needs to be at 5 feet. That's simple. I know that I'm going to be sharp. The last thing you want to consider is exposure. Exposure doesn't have to be difficult. You don't have to chimp and you don't have to guess. Grab your light meter, set your shutter speed, which is going to be 50th because we're doing that cinematic shutter speed, and set your ISO and lock it down. Now, my ISO is determining how the background is. We're in a completely lit room, but it looks black because my ISO is down. So I'm just going to basically set up that, again, the shutter speed for the camera and the ISO that I'm working with. I'm just going to point the dome back at the camera and I'm going to take a reading. Take the reading, set your aperture, and that's it. So I want to thank you all for taking time to visit today. I hope these tips help you out. And until next time, we'll see you soon.